What's up, y'all? I am your girl Candy, and to my left, I really have a man who the streets have been talking about, okay? Everybody's been looking for him, and I found him. Everybody. I have one of my close friends, Todd Chrisley.
Thank you so much for having me.
And he's about to speak on it. Do you speak on it?
I'm going to speak on it.
Well, first of all, let me just say, you and I were having a lot of conversation earlier, and some of those things we're probably going to touch back on a little bit. But, you know, first, let me just start off with, I feel like a lot of people know you from the show, and they've been hearing a lot that's going on in your life, but I want to go to the beginning.
Okay.
I want to know, before the headlines, before the TV show, how did you get rich?
It was real estate. I've made my money in real estate. I've made more money in real estate than I've ever made in television.
Got it.
You're in television. You know how the payments come and go and whatever, but real estate was something that was always tried and true. I owned 2 large companies. One I sold, and that is where a lot of the money came from. And then I turned around and built another company in Los Angeles that did the same thing. Ooh. And so that company did very well. So it was real estate.
Oh, okay. That's good for the people who've been wanting to know.
That, exactly.
Okay, so then I want to go back to before the show. How did you and Julie meet?
Julie worked as a teller in the bank of one of my best friend's family that owned that bank. And I went in on a Wednesday to make a deposit, a real deposit. And she had on a yellow dress, and I thought that she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever laid my eyes on. Oh. And so I kept going back after that. I'd always go in on like Wednesday to do my banking. And finally she said, Bill, my friend whose family owned the bank, he had told her that I had the hots for her. And so finally she just said, are you ever going to ask me out? Okay. And I said, well, would you go? And she said, well, you would have to ask me to know. And I said, well, would you like to go to lunch? And she goes, well, I only work a half a day on today. She says, I mean, we could go after I get off work. And so we ended up going to Applebee's, of all places. And we got there, I think it was about 3:00, and we didn't leave until 9-something. And from that date on, she and I have been together ever since.
How many years has that been?
Almost 30.
Almost 30 years?
Almost 30 years.
How old are you?
57. 57.
I see. I thought you were younger.
Well, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I thought you were younger.
One more reason why I love this woman. If I was not married to Julie, I would be married to Candy. Okay.
I do have to ask, so you already had 2 children when you met her, right?
Yes. I say that was my first stint in prison. With my first wife. That's when I did.
How long did that
That's
stint
when
last?
I did real hard time. 6 years.
6 years. So you were young when you married the first time.
I was 21 when I had my first child, and then 22 when I had my second.
Okay, what went wrong?
It was. I mean, I would have never been married, but we were both from a small town. It was one of those Friday nights, and something happened, and then I find out about 8 weeks later that she's pregnant.
Oh, okay.
And so my mother, Nanny Faye, forced me into that marriage and said that you made your bed hard, you will lay in it. And that you will not bring our grandchild into this world and not be married.
Got it. So did you have money then?
No. I mean, I grew up in a very small rural country town. My parents were textile workers. I didn't have money, but I had huge dreams.
So you got it out the mud, as we like to say.
I got it out of the mud. Yes. Yes.
You know, it's kind of funny when if people may or may not they probably know that, but to me, I laugh sometimes when you know all the current slang. Like when we talking, you'll say something, I'm like, no, he knows.
Well, I think because I have such a diverse group of friends. And that's why I think that our country is a wonderful place, because we have such diversity. And we learn from every culture that we're friends with. And I have people like you that keep me current on certain things. And so I'm grateful for that.
Yes, I'm grateful for it too. So we got to touch on that, on this friendship of ours. Like I said, we talked about it a little bit before, but for these people right here that are watching right now, I had to say, like, people don't understand our friendship or our relationship, right? People don't understand that we've been cool for a very, very long time. So Todd and I, we've been friends since 2014. That was when we first met. And we basically kept in touch and still been cool over the years. You've come to some of my shows, and, you know, we always DM each other and even got
Text,
jokes.
DM.
Yeah, like, you know how everybody have their own little group of friends that they go back and forth. That's us. People, for whatever reason, really had a problem with me being happy that you got a pardon.
You know, I saw that, and my heart broke, because I never want to put you in a position where you have to defend me, but you did, and for that I'm grateful. I don't know that people were as much against you cheering and celebrating for us as they were against the person who made it happen.
And that is true, and I think what people have to understand is our friendship is bigger than a political stance.
Absolutely.
Or affiliation. It's bigger than any race situation. Because I didn't understand. Like, at first I was like, well, what? You know, they was trying to change my political views and everything. I'm like, this is my friend. Like, I really was upset when you first even had to go to jail.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, people may not know, like, I wrote letters to the judge for you.
Yes.
And I don't think people wouldn't know, because, you know, when you have a friendship with somebody, you don't have to post everything.
That's right.
You don't have to post everything. People don't, it's not for everyone to understand, right? And I genuinely care about you, care about your family. I think you are cool as fuck. Okay. And, you know, I ride for my friends.
That's right.
And that is what it is.
And I think that anyone that knows you, that truly knows you for who you are and knows your heart, knows that. And I give thanks to God every day of my life for so many things, but I give thanks for you. I give thanks for who you are and for what you represent and what I've learned from our friendship. And from, when I say learn, I don't have to be talking to you every day to learn something from you.
Right.
I can still pull back from 2014 forward of lessons that I've learned from you by the way you've handled certain situations in your life.
Yeah.
And when you have someone in your life that makes you stronger because of the weaker things that they've had in their life, that's a blessing.
Okay, now I'm going to take it back to you and Julie. If you go back to the first day that y'all met, like, would you have ever thought that you guys would have gone on this journey with TV and now prison?
No. I think that Julie and I, when I met Julie, our goal was just to have a beautiful home, a nice a wonderful marriage, to have beautiful children, and to live a normal life. That was really what our goal was. And we got all of that. We got all of that. But what you have to be careful about is that we live in a society to where we love to build people up because we love the satisfaction of tearing them down.
That's what it feels like.
And yes. And so to say, did we think? No, we never thought that we were going to be on television, nor did we ever have aspirations to be on television.
Yeah.
And we led a beautiful life long before television ever started. I say television has been the hardest job that I've ever had.
Why you say that?
I think that because you're constantly on. And you know, if I had not become famous or been on television or what have you, my kids could make mistakes on their own, and it's not all over the internet. It's not all over the news. So in a way, we've given so much of our lives away for what we've received in return. You know, I think the anonymity is something that, you know, you've got to be careful with wanting to be famous, and because you got to also know what you're giving up for that. And I think so many people, when they get into it, ourselves included, they don't take that last part into consideration.
Right.
Like, I would never think about going and looking in someone's window or chasing them to a car with my phone to get a video, or, you know, to try to do an interview with someone and cut and paste that interview to make it sound, you know, worse than what it is.
Right.
I would never do that to harm people. And I went into this thinking that I would be treated the way I wanted to treat people.
How did they find you anyway?
I was actually in New York for Fashion Week with my daughters, and met someone who was a producer, a wannabe producer, and we had a great time. And she went back and called me like maybe a week later and says, "Can we shoot a sizzle reel with you?" And I said, "What is that?" And she told me. And I said, "No," I says, "I don't have any interest in that." And so she continued to pursue, and Judah said, "Let her do it. It doesn't matter. We're not going to do it anyway."
Yeah.
She says, "At least you're being polite about it." And so they came, they shot the sizzle over about 4 days. And 6 weeks later, I get a phone call from a gentleman by the name of Adam Greener, who ran Maverick Television at the time, lovely man, and was the creator of this show of Chrisley Knows Best. And he called and said, "I would like to come and meet you." He said, "We have finished the sizzle. We have sent it out to 10 networks, and we have 10 offers."
What?
They had 10 offers.
What were you on there doing? I know you were talking crazy.
We had 10 offers, and I said, "I don't know what that means," because I didn't understand. I didn't know how to comprehend that. And I said, "But we're not doing a show." And he said, "That's why I want to come talk to you." And I said, "Well, we're actually going to be in LA." I says, "This coming week." I says, "I'm happy to meet with you at the Polo Lounge for lunch." And so he came and he told us of all the offers, and the kids were all sitting there. And I said, "But why would I do this?" And he said, "You're going to make a lot of money." I said, "I've already made a lot of money." And I said, "I don't know that this is going to be anything positive."
Right.
He said, "I promise you the world is going to love you." And I said, "Okay." And I think that, you know, when you grow up as a child and you grow up in very middle class surroundings, and you have shows like Dallas or Dynasty or Falcon Crest or Knots Landing that shows you the limousines and the mansions and all the glitz and glamour. That was my zeitgeist. That was what I gravitated towards. And I always looked at that stuff and said, "God, just one day. God, I'm not asking you to solve my problems. Just give me the strength to get up tomorrow, and I'll get out of here, and I'm going to do better. I'm going to make my mom proud." And that was my whole goal. And so I still had that part of me as a child, still in me as a grown man, that needed to be nurtured and fed. I had someone here sitting saying, "The world's going to love you." And Candy, we all want everyone to love us.
Yeah, of course.
And so I thought, okay, well, maybe this will work out. We'll see. I think maybe a week later, Bonnie Hammer, who who was over NBC, I had a call with her and Adam, and at this point I had an agent. Who would have thought? I had an agent and negotiating this deal. And she said, "Mr. Chrisley," she said, "you have managed to do something that has never been done in my career." And I said, "What is that?" She said, "You've got all of my networks bidding against each other for you."
Oh, wow.
And see, remember, she controlled Bravo,
right.
Lifetime, E, USA. And I said, "Well, I want to go on E." And she goes, "I want you to come to USA." And I said, "I don't want to go to USA," because I didn't watch USA. I didn't watch a lot of television anyway. I said, "Well, I don't want to go to USA." I said, "I want to go to E." And she said, "Well, why do you want to go to E?" I said, "Because Kris Jenner took a blowjob and turned it into $1 billion empire." And that was done on E. And so I said, "I don't know which of mine's going to volunteer that service." I said, "But if we are," I says, "then I want to get to where Kris Jenner is." And, she says, "But your family's different. They have that area and y'all have another area. And your area is USA. So I'll tell you what I'll do, something I've never done. I'll tell you what I'll do. If you come to USA, I will then re-air your episodes on Bravo and E." I've never done that with a show. She said, "So you will be getting USA first, the original, then E, then Bravo. And we will see where the show finds its landing." I remember them telling me, Heather Olander, who was over our show with USA, I remember her saying, if we just get 500,000 views in the first, in this first season, then we know we've got something we can build on.
Yeah.
We got 800,000 views after the second episode. And
because you are a character.
I remember Heather calling me and saying, we're going ahead and pulling a second season.
Oh. And
I didn't realize then how important that was. Now knowing television, you don't pull a season, until a lot of times this season that you're in's already aired, and you're just waiting for a pickup
to hear back from them. Yeah.
Right. And ours was picked up literally 4 episodes into the first season. And the show ended up becoming a hugely popular show. And it's still popular. It still streams amazing. I mean, on Peacock.
So don't worry about us. You go on.
I'm not doing this. Are you?
Go on.
Are you going with me?
Well, yeah, I guess. I'm going with you. Yeah, she has to go because you tell her to. We don't.
You see what liquid courage she's got. When I got out of prison, they threw it in high gear.
Okay, let me get back to you in this prison. Okay, first of all, how did you get there?
How did I get into prison?
Yeah, can you give a quick explanation?
Making a bad decision and trusting someone that I should have never trusted. When I sold the first company, the individual that worked with me, he stayed with that company. And then when his contract ran out with that company, I opened my second office in Los Angeles. I had all of my children. Julie and I had our life together. We had our home in Florida that when the kids got out of school, the day they got out of school at Greater Atlanta Christian, they were in the cars. We headed to our home in Seaside. We didn't come back until literally 3 days before school started back. I had made enough to where I could live that way. I brought this individual on board, trusted him, gave him the authority to run the business. He paid all of our monthly bills. He handled the purchasing of all new vehicles every 2 years. We all got new cars every 2 years. He negotiated those deals on those cars. He ordered them. He had them delivered. The maintenance on all of our homes. He handled all of the housekeepers, the house managers. He did all of that. He had control over so much. And I trusted him like a brother. Trusted him beyond anything. And so when I found out in 2012 he had embezzled over $6 million from us, that's what started the investigation. That's what a lot of people.
How did you find out?
His administrator called me in California and was crying, Donna Cash. And she called me and said she was leaving the company. And she had been there with me since the beginning. But because I had moved to LA, she was no longer my administrator. She became his administrator.
Okay.
So, because I didn't want her to lose her job. And she called me and said she was leaving the company, but that she had to meet with me immediately and was crying. And I said, Donna, what's wrong? I said, I'm not coming back, I says, until the Christmas party, because I would always go back in December and host the party for the company. She says, no, I have to talk to you face to face. And she said, I need you to bring your attorney, Hayden Pace, with you. And I said, okay. I says, well, I'll try to get there. I said, I'll get with Julie and find out what I've got going on. I said, I'll come see you next week. She says, no, Todd, you have to come tomorrow. I go in, I tell Julie. Julie gets me a flight. I fly in that next day. My attorney meets me. We met her at a restaurant. She comes in with this cart with these accordion folders of where Mark had been selling our assets, properties that we owned that we didn't even know had been sold.
Wait, so how did he have authority to do that?
He forged all of it. He forged a power of attorney. He forged my name to everything. And this man has acknowledged that he did this. But then his defense for that was, but Todd knew. Todd knew I was. Exactly. I know you're stealing from me, and I'm telling you that's okay.
That's crazy.
It's the craziest thing in the world. But so that's how it started, was through one employee coming forward and telling us this. We launched an investigation. We went to Paul Howard, who was the DA at that time. Our attorneys went and sat down with him, and he said because of the large amount of money that was involved and the complexity of the company and the assets, that this was a business divorce, not a criminal case, and that they didn't have the resources to dig into something this big. So we went to try to get help.
Okay.
And when he knew we were going to go after criminal charges against him, he goes and hires an attorney, goes to the U.S. Attorney's Office. They start investigating me. Julie's never involved in this. She was never involved in the company, was only there twice a year to cater for parties, Christmas and Thanksgiving.
I've had a baking business, I've worked in kitchens, and friends always ask for my recipes.
We went through that in 2012 to 2014. The U.S. Attorney's Office declined to prosecute, said there was nothing there. And that what they did know was that they could not go to trial with anyone like Mark Braddock because of his credibility or the lack thereof. And that U.S. attorney told my attorney at the time, Bruce Morris, that this individual has a huge credibility issue. He's acknowledged stealing from your clients.
Yeah.
So that was the end of it. Then when he didn't get what he wanted there, because you have to remember, I have now at this point, my attorneys have locked down every asset he has. We have put a lien on all his properties, everything. So he then goes, when he doesn't get what he wants from the prosecution from the U.S. attorney in 2012, in 2014, when they finally tell him we're not moving forward with this, he goes and hires an attorney that knows someone at the Georgia Department of Revenue and tells them that I have committed tax fraud by using my homes in Florida as my residency to avoid paying Georgia state income tax. Now, keep in mind, this individual was
the one who set it up.
Right, but this individual is living my old beach house. When I built my new one, he took the old one, I sold it to him. Our company financed it for him after paying him $1.4 million a year to run the business. And he goes to the Georgia Department of Revenue. At this point, we're on television. We've been on television for a year.
That makes things all too complicated.
Exactly.
Okay, let me ask you this, and if you want me to take it out, I'll take it out.
You don't have to take anything out.
Okay, he implied that y'all had an intimate relationship.
He did. In 2012, when we put all this stuff out there against him and we filed the liens against his property and we were threatening him with criminal prosecution, we actually called our attorney and told him that if the Chrisleys move forward with these criminal charges, I'm going to allege that I had a physical relationship with Todd Chrisley. And so I remember Julie and I coming down Georgia 400, getting off at Old Alabama. I'm sorry, Jimmy Carter Boulevard. And our attorney called and he says, "Where are you?" And I says, "Getting off 400. And he says, "I need you to come to my office." And I said, "For what?" And he said, "I need to talk to you about something that I think you and I should talk about in person." And I said, "All right." I said, "Well, Julie and I'll be there in a few." He said, "No, I don't need you to bring Julie." And I said, "Well, there's nothing that my wife can't hear you say." And he goes, "Well, this is very sensitive." And I said, "There's nothing that you can't say in front of my wife," because I've been with Julie every day of our life ever since we've been married. There's never been a night that Julie and I have slept apart. January the 17th of 2023 is the first night.
Except for when you was in jail.
That's what I'm saying. January the 17th of 2023 is the first night she and I have ever been apart, and that's when we self-surrendered. We go back to his office, and he calls me in there, and he says, tells me what I just told you he said, and I said, "Well, let's just be very clear. If I'd fucked him once, he'd have come back for seconds."
Wait a minute. Did he allege that y'all only fucked once?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's what he
said. It was a one-time thing. It was an experiment. You ain't experimenting on shit. You know what you're doing. I don't need to experiment giving head. If I wanted to give head, I'd give head. But
gave head?
I have not, because I have a gag reflex. But so I called Julie in. I said, "Tell her what you just told me." Julie owned the majority of the company because it was the way the trust had set it up. In case I was ever sued, they couldn't take anything. They tell this to Julie, and Julie said, "Well, I'll tell you what. Tell him we'll drop the lawsuit for him to come here and meet us face to face and give me the proof of it." Because he said he had proof.
Okay.
So we gave him 72 hours to do that. And he never showed up with the proof because it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Right.
And it's 2025, Candy. If I wanted to have sex with a man, I'd have sex with a man. I can do that. I got money. I can travel wherever I want to go to. I wouldn't be broke gay.
Well, don't be traveling them to places. That's something else.
I ain't looking for no diddy charge.
Don't do that.
No.
But, okay, let me ask you this. So how did Julie react when she was told that you may have had a relationship with
She knew that wasn't true.
Oh, okay.
She knew that wasn't true because
she didn't go crazy on you.
No,
okay.
Because Julie and I married. We have adhered to our faith and we have lived by our vows. Mm-hmm. I have never cheated. Julie has never cheated with a man or a woman. Mm-hmm. And you just have to know, Candy, what our relationship is and has always been. Our life was very simple. Even though we lived a very lavish lifestyle, it was still a very simple life. Mm-hmm. Because Julie got up every morning at 5:30. She made our children their breakfast. She got them dressed. They went to a private school. She got them dressed. She took them to school. She came home. She started her dinner. Mm-hmm. By 8 o'clock in the morning, she was already starting her dinner, getting it ready so that by 6 o'clock, we sat down as a family and had dinner. Julie and I have never been apart from each other. We talk 100 times a day on the phone. Mm-hmm. And one of us had a kid with us at all times. There's 5 kids. Mm-hmm. So one of us had a kid taking one this direction, one that direction. Mm-hmm. That just wasn't going to happen. Now, I understand if you want to make something happen, you can find time to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't find time for that. And have you seen him?
I've not seen him.
I mean, he's a little pocket pal. You can put him in your pocket. And he's freckled, and he's a borderline undercover ginger. So I'm adverse to gingers.
Gosh.
So that just wouldn't happen. I understand whe'd want me to fuck him. Because I sometimes look at myself and want to do myself, and do. But I wouldn't do him.
Your ass, did you hit the gym while you were in the...
I did.
Okay. You kept it tight and right, huh?
You're noticing, aren't you?
I'm checking
You're feeling it, right?
I'm checking out what you're giving over here.
See?
All right, I had to ask that question because, clearly, sometimes you give that you've been hanging out with black women your whole life with the way that you act and your personality and the way you talk.
I think, again, that goes back to what I said to you earlier with my mother and with the people that we were surrounded with growing up. Mm-hmm. We had a large influence of black women in our lives because we had black friends and their mothers were involved in our lives. Mm-hmm. And my mother did not put up with any shit growing up. Mm-hmm. My mother didn't put up with anything. And you know yourself being a black woman mother, your tolerance for bullshit is far less than in some cultures. So I grew up with that. Mm-hmm. And so what you grow up with, you become.
True. Okay, let's go back to the family because, overall, you are... that's why people love you because you guys have really showed the world the love between your family, the ups and downs between your family. Right. So I have to ask when we speak about race, your son, Kyle, yes, your son, Kyle, Chloe's dad.
Yes.
Birth father because you raised. Right. How did you feel when Kyle was dating he was dating a black woman when...
Well, he dated multiple black women, but... I don't think we ever thought about it, period.
It wasn't a thing.
It just wasn't.
It wasn't a problem ever.
No, we didn't have that. That was not a... Now, granted, some of the ones he dated, it wasn't the color that I had an issue with.
Right.
It was the fact they was shaking their ass on a stage or that, they was at Magic City hanging out and making it rain and what do they call it, popping bottles and all that shit. No, that's not what I wanted for my son. But the color was never an issue. We never thought about that. Mm-hmm. He didn't. We didn't. I didn't really think about the color until Chloe was born.
Why?
Because that's when I truly learned what racism was.
What do you mean? Because
of the way we were attacked. Because remember, we were on television at this time. And we were attacked on Facebook. Facebook was the worst enemy in the world when it came to her.
That is so crazy to me.
But this may shock you, or it may not. The bulk of the hate came from the black community.
That is so weird. Mm-hmm. And it's always a thing where, you have self-hate sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it's just crazy. There are trolls on social media that go too hard.
That's it.
And it really... I don't know. It really bothered me because I think we've had multiple conversations about the haters in the comments because you will go in there and you will cuss them out online. I'm like,
I normally will not do it.
I try not to do it.
Unless it has to do with Chloe or one of my kids, then if it's that, I'm going to drag you. Mm-hmm. But if you're saying I'm sucking dick in the dark, I don't give a shit what you're saying. I don't have to defend a negative when I know it's a lie. So that I don't care about.
I think people don't understand it, and I'm just gonna say, as far as like when it comes to, I don't want to say they don't understand it, but like I do see sometimes online, like say for instance, when black people have a lot to say when a child, a mixed race child, is being raised by white family.
That's what we got.
Yeah, because they always feel like, okay, you're not going to bring them around their culture. They're not going to know anything about their culture. And the automatic thought is when people look at her as she's growing up, they're going to see a young black woman.
That's right.
And people don't understand.
How can we teach her to be a young black woman?
Exactly.
Well, let me answer that. First of all, you and I have been friends since 2014. When we were blessed with her, her nanny, I'd never had a nanny in my life with any of my children, but we were filming. We didn't raise our kids on television until they were older. Yeah. But she's a baby. And you know yourself, in television and in film in general, it is a law. It is mandated that a minor child has someone on set with them. When they sent me applications for nannies, all the nannies were white. Yes. And I said, and you know Raja. Yes. Okay. Raja was on our show from first season.
Producer, yeah.
Yes, a producer. And Marcus. And I said, I need a black nanny. I need a black woman with her. She gets enough white. Her daddy's side's covered. But I got to make sure that she knows that she's part black. So we ended up with a nanny, Andrea, who was wonderful and was with Chloe until Chloe didn't need a nanny anymore. But I also placed Chloe, when she got older, with a child psychologist that taught her about her feelings, about, you look different than the rest of the people in your family. This is because your mother is African American or black. And
did you have to use a black therapist, or?
I did use a black therapist only because I felt like that it would resonate more. She had enough white people telling her what to do
and what to do.
Right. She needed to have another perspective. So when Andrea would take her to the library every week, she had to do a report every week on a African American successful female. And that's when I got involved with Octavia Spencer.
Oh, okay.
Because Octavia had just finished her
I love her too.
Yes. And she had just finished that movie, C.J. Walker.
Okay, Madam C.J. Yeah.
And that became mine and Chloe's favorite movie, because Chloe would get up in the bed with me and I would say, let's watch. I said, let me show you what you can do when you get big. And she fell in love with Octavia, but she fell in love with Madam C.J. Walker, because that's who Octavia was. And I said, do you see that you can do any of this? It doesn't matter your color, but even with a woman who was limited because of her color, she was the first black female millionaire in the country. Chloe knows that whole story. Chloe knows Harriet Tubman. She knows all of the famous black women that have suffered before her. But that's because we put forth that effort to make sure that she was protected and that her culture was protected.
And as she knows her history.
It's hard because we are white. We live in a community to where it is largely white. And so when I go to put her in a private school, it's largely white. And we had an incident where she came home crying one day, and it was because she could not be a mermaid. The girls told her she could not be a mermaid because she didn't have long blonde hair. And I remember her sitting at the kitchen island in my lap, and I remember watching her tear hit the countertop. And it broke my heart. And she said, but I don't know why God made me like this. Oh. And that's when the therapy started. Chloe is surrounded by, I took her out of that school. I remember going over to the school and Julie begging me not to go.
So you were as hell.
I did. I went over there and I said, I wouldn't get this fucking upset for everything you could teach my daughter. I said, from now until the end of time. I said, because she doesn't need to be taught about hypocrisy. I said, the world's full of that.
Yeah.
I snatched her out. I placed her in a public school right in Belmead, which is, might as well say, the same as a private school. But they did have diversity. So
publicly, you guys had a little back and forth with her mom at some point. It was a while back.
Well, that was about money. She was just looking for money. She was looking for her 5 minutes. A lot of people don't know the story of how we got Chloe.
Yeah, they don't.
Chloe was born. We did not know that Kyle had a child. We didn't find out until after the fact. And then the request for money started.
Okay.
And Chloe's biological mother actually called us on a Friday evening at 11 o'clock at night and told us we needed to come and pick her up because she was homeless and was living in her car. And so we met her in Commerce, Georgia, in a McDonald's parking lot. Mm-hmm. Chloe was starving to death. She had third-degree burns on her bottom from sitting in diapers that were dirty. And this is all documented in her medical records. And we brought her home. We got her to our pediatrician. We started what needed to be done to get her medically well and healthy. Mm-hmm. And at that point, her mother said to me, your son promised that he was going to help take care of her. He has not done anything. Mm-hmm. So you can either take her or I'm going to put her up for adoption. Mm. And I said, I want a DNA. We had a DNA test done. It came back like 97%. But I knew she was mine the moment I held her the first time because she was screaming at the top of her lungs. And when I picked her up out of that carrier, she nuzzled into my neck and she stopped crying. I knew God gave me that sense that she was mine. So I knew before the test came back. But when she came back, the mother made a request that she would give us custody of Chloe if we would buy her a car. I said, okay, you go through my attorneys. And it all went through the attorneys, and she went and picked out her car. We gave her a car. And then after about a year, she had gone through that, and she needed more money. So she's
come back to try to get custody, right?
No, she's never tried to get custody.
Oh, she did?
She's never tried to get custody. She tried to run a scam with, what is the thing where people raise money online? What's that called?
The GoFundMe?
GoFundMe. She made up a lie and said that she was trying to get money to go after custody of Chloe. But how can you go after custody when you've already terminated your rights? Your rights have already been terminated. She's already been legally adopted. You can't go back out here and take a child that you've already given away.
Gotcha.
And so I ended up buying a condo in Anderson, South Carolina, $185,000. And I gave her the ability, and all this is in a contract. She was allowed to live there until Chloe became of age of 18, because that money belongs to Chloe, because Chloe shares in equal portions of what I have. Savannah won't get more than Chloe. Grayson won't get more than Chloe. Chase won't get more than Chloe. I took that money, bought that condo. She moved in it. And I said, the only thing that I expect of you is you're going to pay the HOA dues, $225 a month. And I want you in school at Tri-County Tech, because you've already scammed me out of 3 times of tuition saying you were going to nursing school. I want you getting an education so that Chloe can be proud of what she comes from. She lied and said she was going to do that. We didn't find out until 6 months later she had never paid the first HOA dues. So the trust had to step in and do that because they were putting a lien against the condo. Right. So we had to step in, pay that. I then gave her a second chance because, again, I did not want Chloe at 18 years old saying, my mother was homeless and you wouldn't help.
You wouldn't help, right.
So I didn't want her to be able to throw that back on me. We went another round with it. She paid once or twice and then she let it get behind again. So then I said, the trust said, you got to go. Basically. We're not doing this. So she had destroyed the condo, and we had to go in and spend about $40,000 having it redone in order to be able to get it back on the market. But it was set up to where if Chloe wanted her to have that condo when Chloe became of legal age, Chloe could say, Mom, you can live there.
So does she ever get to see Chloe, communicate, or nothing?
No, there is no relationship.
None.
This woman has gone on and had 2 other children by 2 other men, all white men, and tried to get us to adopt her second child. And use the excuse that it's Chloe's half brother.
Well, she must not think y'all that bad.
Well, she doesn't. She doesn't. Listen, she doesn't think that. I think that in her defense, and it's hard for me to give defense to anyone who has done some of the things that she's done for money. But in her defense, I think that we do what we know. And I just don't know that she knows to do better, if that makes sense. And I can't have Chloe around that. Now, what Chloe does when she's 18 years old,
it's up to her.
That's up to her. But she'll have a clean slate until she's 18 years old.
Gotcha. All right, so we know Savannah, she went hard for you.
How are you guys? Good. I'm still we woke up today and they were still at home. So it's honestly felt like such a dream.
As Steve Harvey messaged me and said.
Really?
Steve Harvey messaged me from Paris, and he said, man, I am so fucking happy you're home. I'm so happy I can't even contain it. He said, I'm here with Marjorie. He said, but I'm just going to tell you right now, that Savannah, she's just built different.
She is. She didn't give up.
No.
And that's...
Even when she was told no, she didn't give up.
So did you think that she was going to did you have a clue that this was going to be able to happen?
No, I will tell you that God had given me a peace about 30 days before we self-surrendered. I walked in there with no fear. Mm-hmm. It just didn't exist in me. And because I was truly walking and living in my faith. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that you can have fear and then claim you've got faith. But there was something in my spirit, and I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit that had placed it there or what, that said, you are not going to be here as long as you think you are. And my first night of being there, when those lights went out, I remember crying myself to sleep.
Oh, you cried on your friend? I wanted to know that.
Yeah, because it's the first night I'd ever been away from Julie. The first night I was not able to put my leg on her in the middle of the bed and go to sleep. And my kids, the first night they'd ever not had us. And I remember being so angry with God and saying, I've tithed, I've raised my children in the Word. You know that this is not true, but yet you're allowing it. And I went to sleep, and in my dream, God came to me and he said, I have planted you where I need you. And when you leave, they will rise. And I did not understand that. I'd tell Savannah, reach out to Joel Osteen. I said, reach out to Joel and have him to interpret this dream for me. Then about 6 months into it, I realized what my purpose was. I realized what he meant by...
Tell the people what your purpose was.
I believe that my purpose now is that God placed me and Julie in the belly of the beast to see the inhumane conditions and treatment of the incarcerated individual. And I have to say that when I say the incarcerated individual, people like me are treated far better.
No.
Are treated far better. And listen, white people are treated like garbage in the Bureau of Prisons.
Okay.
But nowhere to the level of someone of color. And when I say color, I'm not just saying black. I'm saying Hispanic.
Right.
I watched my Puerto Rican brothers be treated like garbage because they could not speak English. And they didn't even understand what they were being charged with when it came to a shot, which is an incident report in prison. They didn't even understand what you're giving them. They're so ashamed of not being able to communicate it. They just got, they do the head motion like they understand, but they don't. And when I realized that they were placing these men, they were denying them what President Trump, the law that President Trump passed in 2018, which was the First Step Act. And that is to help people that are incarcerated, that are eligible for FSA, to reduce their prison sentence by up to 48%, in some cases 52%. But yet these men of color, who already have been given a much harsher sentence from a judge, you're now stripping them of something that could try to even some of that out a little bit. But you're now placing them in refusal status just because you don't want to deal with them. And I outed that and exposed that, and that camp is now closing.
Now, that's what I was saying. Like, to me, you was out there with privilege. You said you was getting Chick-fil-A. You was
Burger King, Chick-fil-A. I got Olive Garden one time. I didn't like it. Culver's was my jam. I loved Culver's hamburgers. I had pizza.
Yeah.
I had what I had. If I wanted it, I could get it.
Well,
the BOP didn't provide it. So that's what I want to be very careful about, because Savannah has exposed the BOP and how they're serving these men food that's out of date by 9 years.
Right.
I never went into that slop trough. And the warden tried to make me go in there because Savannah had put so much heat on the Bureau of Prisons for what they were doing to the men and women in custody, that she was told by higher ups the best way to stop this bad press is to get him in that chow hall and get him to eating.
Yeah.
So she thought by limiting commissary for everyone on the campus that it would force me to come in there and eat. No, you slick bitch, it didn't. I got your staff to bring my food to me because I paid them better than you did.
Oh my gosh. See, that's the type of stuff that people go like, that's so unfair. How is he able to do that? Da, 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 da.
But those people that are saying that don't realize how many people I fed on Friday and Saturday. Mm-hmm. They don't know how many times
people?
I had, at any given time, I had 20 or 30 pizzas brought in.
Really?
Yes.
How is this? Well, never mind. I ain't trying to get
That's
nobody
right.
in
You
trouble.
ain't trying to blow up our spot.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Because them still my people.
Right. I guess it's almost kind of like, you know what it reminds me of? When you see like, when you think about some of those television shows in the past, like The Sopranos and different things, when they show like some of the older guys that go into jail, but they still have a sit down meal and like, how are they doing all of that?
Every night I ate with my kids. When I say my kids, because these young kids, a lot of them did not have families that could put money on their books.
Right.
And they could not go to commissary. I had 4 and 5 commissaries a week. I bought 4 or 5 commissaries every week. So I had 5 lockers full of stuff. So when a kid didn't have food, they came and went into those lockers and got what they needed. When a kid couldn't buy tennis shoes, I made sure they had tennis shoes.
Nobody ever tried to hold you hostage for that?
No. I never had from the what they like to say adults in custody or inmates. I never had but one negative interaction the whole time that I was there.
And what was that?
That was with the guy Rick Singer, who was the snitch with the college scandal, that sent Felicity Huffman to prison.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that whole thing. And he came in that day, and I know Felicity and Bill. And I know Lori and Massimo, and a lot of these people. I knew one of the families from Orange County that their child was involved in this. And he snitched on everybody, wore a wire. I don't work for the feds. I got nothing for you.
Okay.
You don't pay me enough to snitch. He came in and he made sure that he came to me right away and introduced himself. We were the highest profile people there.
Okay.
And so I remember standing in my pod, and Melvin Williams, who's a wonderful African-American man from New Orleans, who was a former police officer who's there on a bum rap, who I've now got the attorneys and the Department of Justice looking into his charges to try to get him home. He said, I'm Rick Singer. I said, I know who you are. And he goes, so how's it going here? He said, have you started your book yet? He said, I've started mine. And I said, well, I hope in the first chapter, I said, you identify yourself as America's biggest snitch. And so he just looked at me and goes, I don't think, he said, you need to know that. I said, I don't need to know shit. I know exactly what you did. You wore a wire. That's all I need to know.
Dang it.
And so we didn't talk again for months. And then when Savannah started outing all this stuff in the prisons and whatever, he made a comment about my daughter. And so I just went up to him and I said, I gave you fair warning the first time. You ever mention or let my daughter's name come through your nasty ass mouth again, I'll rip your head off and shit down your neck. Savannah came to visitation one time, and I had gone to the restroom, and a lot of the guys was coming in. They were going up because they would come over and say hello to us. And they said, you ain't got to worry about your daddy. He done ripped Rick Singer's head off. You ain't got to worry. If somebody says something about one of his kids, he's got this. But I never had an incident with any staff. I mean, I didn't really have incident with staff. A lot of other men had incidents with staff. I didn't, because they had that fear of what Savannah was going to expose.
Oh, okay.
So they tried to stay away from me. And I had multiple staff members come to me and say, now listen, she's going to tear this dorm up today, but it's not us, and we don't want to be on the podcast. And I said, well, if you don't want to make yourself famous, you better bypass mine.
You was using Savannah to threaten the people.
I literally said this. I said last week in an interview, I said, here's the irony of this. My kids used to go to school, and if they got in trouble, I will call my dad. Here I go to prison, I'll call my daughter.
There's been a lot of retaliation because of the latest things that I've posted on Instagram. That's the tough part, is the moment you start speaking out, you have to pay for it.
Well, does that make you want to kind of reel it in a little bit?
No.
It was like a reversal of roles.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so let's go to this. When you got out of jail, what did you and Julie do first?
Each other.
So you got down like...
Yeah. It was the best 3 minutes I had in 28 months.
Oh, Lord, poor Julie.
Thank God my timing got better.
That is hilarious. Okay, so back to the tea. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna ask you, and you can plead the fifth. And straight up, have you ever been in a same-sex relationship?
No, that's one dick too many for me.
No, that's right. Okay, and you and Julie, and this does not have to do with anything about sexuality. This is just y'all been together 30 years. Have y'all ever opened up your marriage?
No, I've done that not in a marriage, when I was single. But for me, and this is just for me, I feel like that the vow that I took to be married to my wife was to be faithful. I'm not the type of person that I don't feel like that I love her the way that I should be loving her if I'm comfortable watching another man have sex with her.
Gotcha.
Now, for me, if she wanted to bring another woman in, I could do that, but but there would be no feeling in it for me. It would just be the physical aspect of it.
When everything went down as far as finding out that you were going to be charged and that, you was going to get jail time, what scared you the most? What was your thought? What thought scared you the most?
Being away from her and our children. That was it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just never had fear of prison because I just felt like God was going to protect me wherever I was.
And what about Julie? Did she break down?
Yes, Julie had those moments. And I think that...
Was she mad at you?
No, because I didn't do it and she didn't do it. And she knows that it was all a lie.
Right.
So, when you can't be mad at each other when you're both attacked at the same time with the same lie. So had it been something that she knew that I did and she was drug into it, then that would be one thing. But that's not what our situation was. But Julie had her moments of fear and she had her moments of to where she had to break down and cry. Julie and I, we pray together every morning. We have a kneeling bench in our bedroom. We got up every morning. Our routine did not change. We prayed together. Every night we got on our knees and we prayed together. And I've been asked, how was it to not be able to speak to her for 28 months? I don't feel like I've been separated from her because I think we just have such a bond that we're so close that I have every memory locked of everything we've ever done or ever said. And I lived on those. I survived on those memories and the emails that I had with her every day. We emailed each other 8 and 10 times a day.
I never thought I'd be with a dark-headed woman.
I know.
But I'm willing to try it tonight.
Get away from me.
I forgot to ask you something earlier when we were talking about family. You and your oldest daughter, Lindsay, I know y'all had some tense moments or whatever.
She was involved in this, and she was involved in the investigation. She helped to start that.
But why?
Lindsay was on the show, and for the network made the decision that they wanted to make Lindsay kind of like a friend of the show, for the lack of a better saying. She lived in Atlanta. We lived in Nashville. She wasn't willing to be open about her marriage and things there, according to what production would tell us. And I got the phone call and said that the network is thinking about doing this, but they don't want to piss you off. And I said, well, you're going to cause a problem in our family. I said, because she's going to feel ostracized. And I never wanted it. But that was the decision that Adam Greener made to limit her role because they were having to fly her. You know this in television. They're going to cut whatever budgets they can.
Yeah, because they're trying to save money.
Save money. And so they were having to fly her to Nashville every week, put her in a hotel. Jackson had to have somebody to take care of him. There was a budget for that, or she was trying to get a budget for it. I forget what that was. And they basically they took her off the show. And then there was a threat of litigation from her side against the production company. And you know yourself, when you start suing the network,
that's a problem.
That's a problem. And you're now putting yourself in a position to where they're never going to call you back.
Yeah, they never going to want you back.
No. And so that happened. And then we find out from this girl that Kyle was dating. She called us and told us that Lindsay was working with Josh Waits, who worked for the Georgia Department of Revenue, who has now been fired. And the Georgia Department of Revenue paid us $1 million in a settlement But she was working with him and giving him information about the family.
How did that feel?
I don't know that pain will ever go away. I think sometimes there's certain things that happen in your life that the pain never goes away. You just learn to live with it. And
Did you call her?
We talked and she denied it. And then when the indictment came down and our attorneys started getting a sharing of information with the federal government, we then find out about the communication between her and Josh Waits. Our attorneys subpoena the phone records. They get the text messages. And then there were emails between her and the FBI. And it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking, and it still is, Candy.
Do y'all communicate at this point?
We do not. We do not. And that, you and I were talking earlier, and I said sometimes you have to bless those that have harmed you and hurt you and ask that God move them on.
Yeah.
And as bad as that is where I am with it. I have asked for God to temper my heart, to take away all the bitterness and all the anger, and for God to bless her, because I do love her son. But that I also have to be a good steward of what God has entrusted in me. And what God has entrusted in me is my wife and my other children. So I cannot place them in harm's way. So I don't bother her. She doesn't bother me. She does her life and we do ours.
I know that has to be tough. What's next? What's coming?
You know, I try not to even say what's next because I never knew prison was coming. But you know, what's next? I hope that everything that I do from this day forward is truly for the glory of God. I hope that when I get up, every step that I make glorifies His name. We're coming back to television. You know, we have a documentary that comes out. The documentary comes out first on Lifetime.
Can you believe it?
That's going to answer a lot of people's questions. I have nothing to hide.
We can tell this story today, and then we can be done with this part of our life.
Lifetime has been so wonderful to work with us on this project. They have established a website where all the legal documents are being downloaded so that when we say something, you can log in and pull that legal document to verify that what we're saying is the truth. So that's happening. That's an 8-part documentary. And then we're starting back filming a family reality show. And, you know, with Chase and Savannah and Grayson and Chloe and my mother and, you know, all the friends that we have that are in our life every day, if it's makeup artists or hairdressers or, you know, people that's in our home working or, you know, assistants or whatever, whoever's in our life. There will also be a lot of people that pop in and out that I was in prison with.
It is so disgustingly filthy.
Todd Chrisley alleges horrendous conditions at his prison facility.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you plan to continue, like, I know you said you made a lot of friends while you were in prison, and you're currently helping a lot of them get out or reduce their sentences.
Right. Or have commissary.
Yeah, or have commissary, which is important. And you're visiting some of the ones who don't get visited.
That's right.
How long do you plan on continuing this relationship?
The rest of my life or the rest of theirs. The people that I have met have changed my life in so many ways that it's so much richer than it ever was. One of my best friends, you know, a black gay man, Terrence from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, 6'4", came into prison, and literally there were some guys in there that didn't like that he was gay. And so I just went and told him, I said, pack your shit and you come over in our room. And I remember going into the unit team manager's office and he goes, Chrisley, what are you doing? You can't move other inmates. I said, I moved him to 13 lower. And he says, I'm telling you, you can't do that. I said, then you're going to tell my daughter that you're here protecting a protected class because he is gay and you're subjecting him to ridicule. Chrisley, just go on. Just go on. And so Terrence moved into our room with a bunch of white straight guys.
You're just in there ruling the place.
Yes, with a bunch of white straight guys. And
you know a black person would never be allowed to do what you do.
100%. But I say that God placed me there for these moments. So Terrence will be in our life forever. You've got all of my young kids. You've got Brian from Brazil. He's now doing HVAC in Manhattan.
Wow.
And so he's doing great there. I'm going to have lunch with him, and I'm doing press next week in New York. Then you've got my prison sons. You've got my son, Cody. He's now working in Tallahassee. He helps build the roads and stuff there and the bridges. You've got my other son, Aaron, that he's now up in Kentucky that Judah and I go to see. You've got my friend Melvin Williams, who's from New Orleans, who is 68 years old, and I'm trying to get him out of prison and get him into home confinement because he was charged and convicted with something that he did not do. How, Candy, can I start this investigation and get 27 law enforcement officers to tell me he was wrongly convicted?
Wow. That's crazy.
But yet our system doesn't see it.
The Chrisleys say their time behind bars has left a lasting mark, largely thanks to the people they met inside prison.
They stood in the lobby and they chanted and said, "Don't forget us." And I'm not.
Well,
so they are my friends forever.
I feel like this situation was meant to happen. I hate that you had to go through this, but it definitely was meant to happen because now you're able to help so many other people.
My life is richer for this. Yes, I slept in a bunk bed. Yes, I mean, I had clean sheets. My sheets were washed every other day because I paid somebody to do my laundry. My uniforms were ironed every day because I paid someone to iron my uniforms. They thought they was going to be cute and give me a job.
What job were they trying to give you? That's what I want to know.
First of all, I work for Todd and God. That's it. I don't work for nobody else.
What job were they trying to give you?
Well, when they tried to move me, they moved me out of the chapel because they were trying to punish me because of all the stuff that I was exposing. So then I remember the former captain there, Mr. Hawley, he called me and goes, "Chrisley, what do you want to do?" And I said, "What do you mean what I want to do? I want to go home." And he goes, "Well, outside of that," I said, "I want to have sex with a female." He said, "Well, I can't help you with that." "What do you want to do here that job-wise? Everyone has to have a job." I said, "No, I'm here to do time, not chores." He said, "You're going to sweep off that back patio." I said, "Okay." I hired somebody that same day, paid them $25 a month. They swept off that back patio.
See, that is okay.
I'm not doing that, bitch. You put me here. This is indentured servitude. I'm not coming to work for you.
Well, it definitely is indentured servitude.
Yeah, so I'm not doing that. No. It's just not what I'm doing. I was busy going up into medical, researching men's medical records, knowing they're not getting the proper care that they're supposed to be, having a staff member take pictures of those records and send them to Savannah.
Wait. Who was allowing you to go into the medical records?
Well, it was every department. I had somebody in just about every department. And the BOP knows this now. I have 144.6 hours of audio recording from pens that was brought in to catch these racist staff members using the N-word, acknowledging that if they don't speak English, I think the quote is, "Fuck it. If they don't speak English, we put them in refusal status because we're not fucking with them."
What?
That's in recording. I got 144 hours. They called me up there when they found out that all these recordings were out, because I told them. I said, "You a lie?" I said, "Because I got you on tape saying it."
Oh.
"How do you have anything on tape? What are you using to record with here, Mr. Chrisley?" I said, "Your staff." What they gonna do? Go in there and fire all of them until they get the right ones?
Well, apparently so. You get the place shut down.
They did. I got them all shut down. And there's going to be more shutdowns because of things that we've exposed. And
is this what you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be that I am a good, decent human being, that I love my brothers and sisters in Christ. I want my legacy to be to my children. That it does not kill us makes us stronger.
What's the biggest misconception about you?
I think the biggest misconception is that I'm an elitist, that I live a life that many will never have or that they can't understand.
You think that you don't live a life that a lot of people won't understand?
I think that for me, I think that if you lived a day in my life, you would understand what I'm getting ready to say. Candy, I don't go anywhere. I mean, I'm at home every day. My wife cooks dinner every night of our life. If there's laundry that has to be done, I do the laundry. I put the laundry in, I wash it, I fold it. I help.
You weren't doing that in jail?
Hell no, that was for the feds, not my kids. But I'll wash my kids' dirty underwear, but I ain't doing no shit for no feds. Nah. I understand that people look at me and they look at how we live and they look at the things that we have. Just invest 25% of that time that you've spent looking at what we have. Invest 25% in knowing what we came from to get there.
Well, that's true.
And knowing that I worked 14 and 16 hours a day, that I was out in on those job sites, that I was walking those properties, that I was making sure those lot lines lined up, that I had my kids at 12 and 13 years old cleaning out new construction houses. So invest to know that story.
I'm going to ask you what else. Like you see that the guy that's on YouTube that goes around interviewing rich people. You never seen it? He has these clips. He says, "What's the most money you've ever made in a year?"
I don't know that I know that. Because if you say, like I sold a company in 1 year.
Okay.
So,
and what was that? What's the most money you made in that year?
30
million?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what advice would you give to someone like yourself who came from humble beginnings, who wanted to eventually live the life that you say people don't understand how you live?
Be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for, because I can tell you that I have never been more happy in a 30,000 square foot home than I was in an 1,800 square foot condo with Julie. So I think that where I am at my life now is that I don't need those things. I don't need that 30,000 square foot home. I don't need 5 cars. I don't need 5 homes. They're nice to have. They're convenient, but do we need them? And
that's true.
Do I need 5 houses versus 100 men over here needing commissary for a year? Which is the greater need?
The men needing commissary.
There you go.
For sure.
So it goes back to whom much is given, much is required.
That is true.
And you have to give back. And the Bible tells you to not store up your wealth. And so I need to make sure that my legacy is for my children. I don't care what the public thinks. I care what my children think and what my grandchildren will think.
Yes.
And I want to raise a generation in this next generation of grandchildren that are humble and kind and sweet and compassionate and considerate. I want them to love human beings, not a black human being, not an Asian human being, a human being. So that's what I want my legacy to be.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me.
I appreciate the fact that you never shy away from any question. You always just answer things straight up. And I love that about you, that you just, you are who you are. It's really the person you see on TV that so many of all of us have grown to love, and watching your family, same person sitting here.
It was the general consensus of people that I was in prison with. They would come to me and they'd say, my wife's saying, is he the same way there as he is on TV? And he said, I have to say to you, he says, you're the same person. Yes. And I said, I've always said I'm not smart enough to be someone other than me. So it is what it is. But I love you. And I'm proud of you for everything that you accomplish every day, because you are what I want Chloe to emulate her life to be. So God bless you.
Thank you. How can people follow you and see you? What's coming?
I'm on Instagram, Todd Chrisley on Instagram, and then Chrisley Confessions 2.0 is on YouTube, and also on Instagram. And Chrisley Confessions 2.0 is kind of like a passion project for me, because it allows me to expose the truth about everything. I get to say what I feel, and because yourself with press will write a lie. A lie will make it halfway around the world before the truth ever gets out of bed.
And they don't care who tells it.
And they don't care who tells it. I love that we have this platform with you, that we have our own podcast, that we can address those things.
Right.
Because they're just not true. I mean, there was a story there's multiple stories that have come out that said Julia and Todd filing for divorce. 28 months later, there's no divorce filing. Todd and Julia are swimming in debt from legal expenses. Now, Candy, you and I both know in dealing with attorneys, they gonna get their money before anybody gets their money.
Right.
And no attorney is going into a criminal trial like ours that they've not been paid in advance.
Right.
So we don't owe any attorneys. We don't owe anyone. There's no one that we owe. So if that pisses you off, stop counting my money. So, with that being said, I love you. And
I love you too. Thank you. Well, everybody, thank you for watching, and catch us next time on Speak On It.